Pinafish na mesa. Good morning.
Gusto ko na all.
Wow, thank you. Nasa ka lang.
Thank you. And vaccinado po.
Wow.
That's okay. Okay. Thank you. Paris Cafe?
Yes, today I'm getting coffee. Didn't have time to make my decaf, but I'll have a little bit extra. Is this your youngest father?
Yeah, this is little Paul. He's my partner in crime for the morning.
Hi. It's adorable.
Yes, Presbitera is teaching currently. She's teaching at Thomas Jefferson Elementary over in Hoffman Estates. They offered her the position. You know, in the beginning it was kind of like an offer she couldn't refuse, but now just kind of like how the situation's kind of unfolding is it's been well, sadly the environment of the schools is very, it's not tumultuous because the curriculum they're very short staffed. So it's evident because then they also, being that she has a background in special education, she's teaching a special education class and she doesn't have the resources and help. There's no aides, there's no co-teachers, it's really bad. So then in turn, she says the classroom and the environments, and this is, I've heard it in multiple districts, is very tumultuous. And the problem is the administration understand what's going on, but they really can't do much about it. So that's the reality of the situation.
It's pitiful.
Yeah, that's a great, yeah, right. That's a great word. It's very pitiful. And I told her, I said, at this rate, I said, because she's coming home and it's day after day, week after week, it's I guess you want to use the term now, it's very miserable. Because the misery is that you have kids that you know that have either behavioral or other situations in the special education, you know, grouping, and you can't make any headway because, and things have changed. Hypothetical, if the child does something or like hits someone or whatever, you're not allowed to touch them. So it's like you can't grab them, you can't, it's so not just like kind of calm everyone down, and then it's now made the environment very difficult because then she'll be like, even like the other children are they're sensitive because they're gonna think that the child or someone's gonna hit them. So it's like, she's like, this is not a very conducive or positive environment. And I'm like, Tony, listen, the answer is, I think the answer is real easy because we were both extremely torn in the beginning. It was like 50-50. Naturally, obviously, he's still very young. So I said, it's really up to you. If you want to do it, great, I'll support you. We'll figure this all out. And we were getting back the first 2 months. But the reality is, I mean, if she's in that manner, plus with the intensity of my ministry and everything else, you know, we'll just kind of see where things kind of play out.
Not so much for her.
Yeah, it is. And then you know, what's the other sad part too is, which is very shocking to me, is that district over here, district 15, you know, the Palatine Hoffman Estates district. Hey, I'm quite surprised. And my wife has her special education, plus she has her master's, and she got 4 or 5 years added to her salary. I mean, when she worked at Park Ridge, but she was there before we started here. She was making, I don't know, at least, you know, feel like 10,000 more. I was like, whoa, I was looking at the salary, I was like, because then we were looking at other salaries of the district, I'm like, they're very low out there. Thinking about how big this district is and what we're administering to, it really was actually quite mind-boggling. So it kind of goes back to what you said, it's a very, yeah, it's a first and second special education. And then, well, I mean, there's, and it's like, so in other words, she's by herself. So then this is the crazy thing. Let's give a hypothetical. She said, one of the kids, just obviously with the situation, runs out of the classroom. You are not to go after him. You call over into the administration. They come and try to grab the kid.
Oh, my God.
All this is because of what's our in our society today.
And I'm like, so how do you, so then she's like, so then, and then she's like, how am I, and she has a total of what, 11 kids. So imagine that, you just have 11 kids in general. You have 11 kids with different needs, but then you'll have a couple that are behavioral. That's the real problem, man. And the problem is those situations was not supposed to have behavioral. They placed them in there because they know else to go. So it goes back to the attitude. There's no teachers, there's no structure, and then they just kind of just pile into wherever they can. And then we create this environment where I've been told her, I said, you should tell your superiors, like, what do you want? I said, you're at a level where you have no recourse. I mean, what are you supposed to do? I mean, this is not, she knows it, she's expressed it to them, and who knows, if it comes to a head, but it's not sustainable. It's bad for the kids, it's bad for the teacher. It's very simple, so,
Same thing happened to my daughter. She's back at the same job
yeah, special education, yeah,
and she worked only one day. The next day she left. She was so,
Yeah, you told me,
you remember, she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
The way they treated her and they treat the kids.
Mm.
And it was a girl, like I said, was a sick girl. She don't allow them to clean her up. And they told her, you don't touch her. And she worked one day, she left, she says, oh, and the money, nothing, they don't pay her nothing.
yeah, she was, it's, so it goes back to what like Aruji said, so then we're at that level, and I told her, I said, we'll figure it out, we'll talk as family, figure it out, but
Too much is a-
Lipan, I just feel for her because Presbytera is naturally, I see her in her manner because she did the thing through the day school. She's been teaching, that's what her whole background is. She just loves serving and being with kids and helping them to grow and seeing this environment. Again, I'm not even like trying to put the blame on the school. It's just what we were hinting at before too. These are all the schools. I hear them, special education especially.
It doesn't matter special education or regular, rather fine for teachers who don't work the money.
Yeah.
Because there is no control.
Yes.
Kids rule, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's not. And we're talking about, you heard what I just said, first, second, even the third grader. We're not talking about teenagers. It's not that level. What? And I'm like, my goodness. And so, and then the problem is you're also having, you know what also it is too? It's a byproduct of what happened with the pandemic, where, like you just said, if I just said first, second, third graders, those were kids who didn't have schooling for a year and a half because of the pandemic. They did virtual or at home. You see the lack of support and resources needed to strengthen these kids. And now we got this.
All teachers.
I sympathize. I'll never forget. I know all of us, I think many of us, we forget about the importance of teachers. But man, I had like 5 in my elementary and high school age who were really moved me, who they blew me away. There was one I had, she was my 4th or 5th grade teacher. And I remember she did, because we always used to think about it, she won like one of those golden apple awards, which they give like to the teacher into that area, with high honors, celebrate. She was such an incredible person, but she was genuine, she was loving. This was like 4th and 5th grade where me and all these other boys would still be smart alecky, and she would still know how to put us in our place, but like in a really correct way, yet we still were able to respect her and love her. And so you actually felt bad when you would be like that to her, because she cared and did an incredible job. I remember it was something with the sciences, because I remember like her class, hers was the class where you would have like those mealworms, remember? And you get to take them home, you feed them apples, and then you bring them back and they turn into like butterflies or whatever. So it was really cool because she had that and all these things. So she was really a great teacher. And there's other ones as well too that just really leave an impact on you. But that's the truth though. I say this in my sermons. I said, wherever we're at now in our humanity, we didn't become who we are by ourselves. First and foremost, it's the unit, the family. Mom and dad expressing roles, expressing love, expressing guidance, expressing, discipline as well too. Like, listen, we have to follow orders, stuff like that too. We wouldn't be where we're at now. And then the second part is everyone else, teachers, professors, priests, church, community leaders. That's why I said a few weeks ago, and I'm honest, and then we brought up even in our discussions here, it goes back to the attitude we said is the role models. Well, there are none. I mean, when you look now, how can you be a role model? When you've given the full liberty, as we said before, to children, not the children, it's not that that's wrong, but that's, I don't know,
Doesn't it
insane.
come from the background of the home? How the child is raised, how the child is taught respect. And being able to communicate with even an adverse person,
Mm.
okay? I think that we don't have that anymore.
Mm.
Y cuando estoura tsunami, viene para exhibir but if they go to Yaya's house, oh, you take care of, that whatever you want to do, or it's just so nonchalant. No, it shouldn't be like that.
Well, the best with Bess, I pick on her because I adore her, but she makes great points. Like you see on Sundays for our coffee hour, I
Oh my
mean,
God.
my kids, these kids, they
I
run around.
I went for the first time and I don't think I'm coming
Oh, they,
to coffee hour.
Oh.
You see those red things that there's too many kids.
so what happened? So hold on. Let me, hold on, let me just give you a hypothetical. Let's talk about this. So I'm there 20 minutes later, I'm investing and doing the whole 9 yards. So what happens? They know where the toys are at, okay? And then they go and get them. But here's the best part. The parents are right there. Canana, Susley, Stamata, Valtapiso,
That's the point.
nothing. And I sit there.
Play with you in the
No,
coffee
but
room.
No, but they-
like.
They find them and they play with them, but the thing is,
They don't return them.
not only that, the parents are there, stop them. What do you-
Right, huh?
Oh, they're not supposed to use.
No, I don't know. The whole point is at coffee hour, they're not there to run rational because then if they don't have those, they just run across the gym. They
Oh, I
run
saw
over
that.
people.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
saw that.
care.
Yeah.
And then the parents just say, oh, well, it's okay.
Yeah, I
Playing
know.
with the elevator one time.
Yeah,
with
to
the
those
kids.
spots on it.
And I went there and I talked to this girl, and she was maybe 12, younger, and I said, don't do that, don't play with the elevator. You know, she said to me,
Hmm.
don't touch me, you don't have to be like that, you're not my mom.
And don't do that. It's the attitude. Don't touch me, number one.
They're going upstairs, they're coming downstairs.
They go up into our mezzanine where we have all these old supplies or whatever. They don't, it's very,
Yeah.
yeah. And I would have the doors closed. And my best part of this whole situation, it's not even the fact that like, if this was another setting where the parents are not present, they're really sitting at the coffee hour, they're talking with their friends, and no one bats an eye.
And how can you change that?
I would hide those little red.
Oh, well,
those
that's,
things.
I am
No, I
going
mean,
to, no, and I know, but then,
That's also dangerous, God.
the best, I agree with you, but what's so disturbing is like, the other Sundays, when you don't have the toys, and they still just run across like no one's in front of
Running
you.
across the road in the coffee area.
No, they don't
and
care.
I-
They
I'm
run in
sorry,
circles. I'm at a level, you know what I might do, just so you know, so we bought a divider, okay? I might literally try and put the divider, so you can literally have coffee on the half of the side. And if the kids wanna kill each other, then go on the other side, if the parents, I'm being honest, though, it sounds comical,
No, no,
but
a
it's
good
quite
idea.
embarrassing because the parents won't bat an eye.
How can they sue the church? Oh, you mean from his idea or other things?
No, no, no,
No,
like,
no, I mean, but I want a child gets
Right,
hurt.
I walked with the king, okay, and, we had, it was the third communion for my great grandchild, so they were late, and I went first. And I was just over, again, I'm not complaining, Father, or saying that what this church did and the other, but I walked in and I went, whoa. Now what do I do? Or where can I sit? And I stood against the wall next to the elevator, and I just watched, and I thought, this is, like a zuga. Isn't that right? The term like a zoo. And then my family started coming in, but then we all stayed back. And a question, does the elevator take you from just up to the,
all three
Gym.
levels, it takes you up to the mezzanine, gym, and to the main floor.
just in case?
Yeah, you can, that's our handicap accessibility.
But I was, and I never went to coffee. You know, and by the way, your coffee was delicious.
Yeah, Maria does a great job
Maria,
with
your
it.
coffee was absolutely delicious. Thank you. We totally enjoyed it. Sunday, even if I did.
Yeah, it's very good. But it's a very disturbing trend. My boys, I always grab them. I literally grab them beside, said, you better stop. But then I see what they do. Listen, here the problem is, we have an environment that we create where they own it. You know, even my boys, and I'm really hard on my boys, my two older ones. And you know, I get people say, oh, don't worry about that again. But I'm like,
No.
the problem is my two, being that they're the oldest especially, he has a thought, he has an attitude because he's the priest's son. He has an attitude like ownership. Oh, I know it. I've seen it. I've seen it where he'll walk around and
Oh, yeah, I saw
and he told one kid one time, it's like, oh yeah, well, my dad's the priest. I said, oh my gosh, here we go. And that's the problem. And I really get very defensive about that because, you know, then he gets all prideful and egotistical and then thinks he owns the place. And then what ends up happening is then he disenfranchises the other kids. And then especially the kids that are trying to do well, and something that my challenge for my kids, as I expected, because I do the same too, so I'm like, well, you guys better be the best behavior because people already know who you are. So I said, I know it's more pressure on you, but I can't tolerate it. And I told Presbyterians, but Presbyterians were more sharp with them. Because Presbyterian grew up as a priest child and everything else. And, my mother-in-law was very, very tough, not tough on them, she was very stern. She made sure that they were respectful, they were dressed. They didn't run around to those manners. I remember one time my wife said, my mother-in-law, not that she ever hit, but she only got slapped twice, and one of them was at church. Because she did something or something similar to like what Luke said, like, my dad's a priest, and like she smacked her across the face. And my wife's like, it still remains with me to this day because I was so shocked that she did that. I said, yeah, but well, yeah, it was a lesson to her. So. Go ahead.
Can you address that? I don't go to coffee hour because of this,
Yeah.
but I only went because of the woman who had the 100.
Yeah,
She was such a sweetheart.
yeah, Caricia is
Oh, and
incredible.
Beatriz, she's such a good.
She's
That's the only
unbelievable.
reason why I went, because I know what it's like. It didn't used to be that way. I don't know.
They get more
Well,
aggressive.
Yeah, I interrupted you, I'm sorry. I mean, one problem we have now, just so you know, is that, and it's a good problem to have, is, but we have a lot of children, we have a lot of families, and so this is the reality of when we're all together. And the problem is, the amount of children that you actually see coming to coffee hours, only about half that actually attend Sunday school. The other half, the parents are waiting by the classrooms, ready to take them out. But that actually gets me a little upset, and I'll tell you why. It's not the kids. I actually want the parents to be in coffee hours so they can actually go and meet other people. But they literally will just go and they'll wait outside the classrooms for their kids to be done. I'm talking about they can wait 15, 20 minutes. And I'm like, why don't you go and say hi? I'm like, the kids aren't gonna go anywhere. And we've already have the rule that the teachers are not allowed to dismiss the kids until the parents are there. And then I see mine, I yelled at him the one time. He left Sunday school without Presbyterian or myself to be there to get him because he owns the place. He just like bolted out. He's like, I know where my dad is. Like, he has an attitude. I said, you can't be like that way. I'm like, you can't be like that, Lukey. So what are we gonna say though, Bess? Because that's one big issue. We have a lot of children out, and as we've seen it the last, not only a few Sundays, but since Sunday school and even the activities, our church is at a capacity. We're very filled.
You had a big crowd.
Well, Sunday was a true anomaly. Sunday was insane. We had 4 40-day memorials. Just one 40-day memorial brings a lot of people. So we have 4, and I messaged the families, I contacted them, I said, please, I'm forewarning you now, we have 4 40-day memorials, just try to find where we could sit. It will be very packed. But my struggle at the same time too is, it's with the guild, it's with the narthex, the parish council, for them to direct and make sure that people, and I messaged, the problem is I even messaged them during the liturgy. I'll send someone to go there. I'll send them a message. I'm like, the narthex needs to be clear. Get people. I saw the one point the narthex must have been the Our Father, and it was like packed. I'm like, you got to clear it out. I said, not only is the fire hazard. I said, plus with everyone else and with the weather and stuff like that, you got to move. Yeah. I said that I see seats up front, and this is the problem. There is an issue of activeness of realizing that you're not just there to be a narthex member, to greet someone. You're not a bank teller. You don't need their money. Anyone can come and just drop off money and take. I really don't care. You're there to usher. And so the problem is they don't usher everyone into the rows or say, we have seating up front. Please, may I take you up front? Once in a while, and I see them slowly do it, but they're not actively doing that.
They don't do it to the people. So no, I noticed that I walked in and I wanted to light my candle. There were these 3 beautiful women, tall, standing right there by the candles and by the bonus. Okay, I just waited. I don't want to make a problem. And then finally, one of the girls turned around and she goes, "That's me." Oh, okay, thank you. But they, and your Pitropo,
Yeah.
the 2 or 3 men behind by the camp, they didn't do anything.
No. And they just stand there, they look. Well, I'm having a meeting with them Thursday. I think it's embarrassing that I actually have to meet with them, but I will give them one pad, and the pad says, but I don't, because I said, I didn't change anything. He said, I didn't change, he wants to be part of the conversation. I didn't. No, my bad. Oh, get the phonetics. I told them, I said, I didn't change anything for Father Peter. I said, it's the same liturgy, it's the same time frame. You guys know what to do. I just don't understand why you guys just aren't active. I said, I know statues who move more than some of them do.
What do you think the reason, since we're discussing?
I really think it goes back to, it's all this is the same issue. It's not singular, it's everything, it's cumulative. Lack of awareness, lack of attentiveness. They also don't wanna rattle any cages. It's like,
Yeah. I
every
want
single one of you is like a
confrontation.
glass.
Yeah, no confrontation.
Yeah, I don't wanna scare you because they have an attitude. Well, here's the best part. So that's this one. Let's go back to the guild one. I had Pascha 6 months ago. I had someone, and the only reason why I found out is because you're gonna laugh. So on our church, we have, you have your church profile, you have it on Google. So if they're on Google Maps, they'll find our church, right? Okay, not over this. So someone posted a review, because you can put reviews about anything now. And they put a review and gave us a 1 star. And I said 1 star, and it was because, why? They posted it's like, I've never seen a more rude church where we come in and we light candles. And we didn't even leave the narthex and they already put them out. And you can tell that, and then it says all they care about is money. So that's how they kind of put the mentality. And I said, oh my gosh. Well, then we have videos now. So we have cameras everywhere. So I'm like, I gotta see this. So I look at the thing, I look at Sunday, and what ended up happening? There was a couple who came very late. I think it was during the announcements. So you're talking about 11 o'clock in the morning. And so the problem with the guild, and this is what I told them, this is what disturbs me. I've worked in restaurants, I've worked in many areas, and you're kind of just knowledgeable of where you are. So even if you see people in the narthex, it would behoove you not to blow out candles until everyone's there. I would hope naturally.
Oh, they were blowing out candles too at the time.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And there's people in the pews. I'm like, those people make that.
To say, okay, get out.
Yeah, okay, or to say, oh, thanks for nothing, good, you're done, but, and we're talking about it was a full candle. But the thing is, there's no consciousness to even look to think about what was going on. So. I see, literally, so you see what happens, you see the couple, they come in late, they come and light their candles and they literally stand to the left. And then all of a sudden, within like 3 minutes, you see a parish councilman go, grab the candles and just put them out underneath, okay?
Oh, my.
So while the people are there. I mean, I'm sorry, I thought that's embarrassing, because you're showing disrespect to the person, and I'm doing announcements, so that even if there's someone who's in the pews who just lit a candle 5 minutes ago, you don't even give them the credit for them to walk out. So in other words, there's no presence. They don't even know where I'm at in the service, because if you had knowledge and say he's doing the announcements, he's almost done, I'll wait till he finishes and I'll blow out the candle, because the problem is, either everyone just wants to get their head out of here, they just want to move on and just get stuff done.
Okay, how can we change that attitude? This is what we're here for, to talk about.
Ladies, I've been talking about this, this is here for 4 years, but the problem is it's in many parishes. I've seen at St. Louis, Chicago, I've seen other places, but it's quite disturbing, the trend, only because, so in other words, it's like, I need like people who own restaurants, because if you're a restaurateur, the whole point of view is about, hospitality and welcomeness and invitation. So I'll literally put a host up front, tell them, where would you like to sit today? How many people in your party? And great, and smile and let them light their candle. I mean, it's that outrageous. But then I'm talking about, so it doesn't matter. At one adage, we would say, well, we have older people back there, so they're more old school. That's completely incorrect. I can have new people on there. There's no school. They don't know anything. They just stand back there. And what's the disturbing trend is whether they're young. When I say young, I'm talking about 30, 40-year-olds, not kids. And then somewhere in between, I even get the sad trend that they don't even know where they are in the service. That's a bad part, because like they'll hold people back during the epistle or the whole stuff like that. Okay, fine, they're trying to show reverence, but they don't know the hows and whys. It just says, do this. I mean, if I put on a piece of paper, jump in 10 minutes, they'll jump in 10 minutes, but they don't know the how and why. But it's a very disturbing trend, because it goes back to the original conflict that I have, and that is they don't know what to do, how to do it, or why they do it. I mean, so all of you, I think the megalosis. I got a what now? Thank you. But he, I truly am perplexed. I'm gonna have a meeting Thursday, but it's gonna be like me talking to like little kids, because they're all gonna nod at me. They all know that I'm right. So I'm like, great. It's like a parent, and I'm like, okay, so what are you gonna do about it? I mean, and I can't baby it. I can't stand back there and like tell them, do this. That's what's disturbing. The disturbing part is, don't you guys recognize that what you need to, and then I'm like, 90% of you grew up in a church, our church, or any other Orthodox church to that manner. So I'm like, that's why I go back to the attitude. So what's the difference?
Maybe you should have more women.
Well, the women are good. They're good for the beginning, but then the women issue, we had like what the Philopoulos, and I brought up the Philopoulos, is that especially with communion is quite intense, because we have the Sunday school kids come up first, and then each group, they're not aggressive to
There is no group father.
Fil-
People just
filtration.
Come up with the children,
I know.
adults.
You know, for the,
Oh, they don't.
okay, one.
It's really, it's realistically the only, it's our only option.
The people in the bank to come a little bit at a time. Now they leave the people in the bank to come all once. You're supposed to stop line in line.
No, the point is that the adults come
Huh?
with the children.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the other day when we were here, the baby, we didn't want her because Delana is Hispanic, she doesn't want the baby to cry and have, disturbance. So finally, we just waved her, just go, because everybody was like,
Well, the problem is that so we've had that discussion numerous times. We originally wanted to do what you want to do, but the problem is, if you let the people come up first from the pews,
then the front.
no, and then the back gets backlogged. Our church is not built conducive for our needs. I hope everyone understands that. We're not built because we only have one exit. If you had a bigger narthex or more spread out, so then you can actually move people to one side and actually so you can come down to our classrooms, it'd be conducive. But the problem that we have is if I were to dismiss only the inside first, which you say is appropriate as they're the first ones in church, right? That would make more sense. But then the problem is when they go out, you can't get through that narthex because it's already packed. So what we try to do is we try to clear out the narthex first,
Yeah.
then go to the rows so then you can make people to go out to go into Sunday school.
Well, yeah, wherever you sit, it's your own fault. I mean, you
Yeah,
know where
but
you're gonna
the
sit.
peop-
But
the
what you're
peop-
saying,
The people that are supposed to come in the middle, not in the side.
Middle's worse.
It's worse the middle.
Oh, the middle,
Come down.
that we used to, and I changed it because the middle, it was like a herd.
No, the people ότι αυτοί που μεταλαμβάνουν να φεύγουν από τη μέση όλοι. Όχι να έρχονται εδώ που είναι ο κόσμος, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they must have one that.
Ναι, οι πιο πολλοί έρχονται από εδώ και γι' αυτό γίνεται.
No,
well,
really.
then the usher should direct them and say, I'm sorry, can you leave through the middle aisle, please?
Little bit
But that's also that, and then Bess, I'll let you say, but there's again, the other line there too. They're not even both male and female ushers are not aggressive into those points. It's like because I'll even have ushers, they stare at me while we're giving communion. And the best part is like we have 3 chalices. So we are pretty efficient, but I'm like, it could be even more efficient. I told one person, you literally need to stand in the middle of the solea and direct. I don't care if you need the wands like air traffic control, but you literally go here or here. Go get people to get communion. This is ridiculous. There should be no way. This should be like an assembly line. But there's a disconnect because either A, they're not paying attention or they don't recognize the need or what's going on. It's a very puzzling situation. And even with the communion, I really struggle because there is no perfect solution. The problem is because of the intensity of our Sunday school. Our Sunday school registered, they have like nearly 200 kids. So that means so over 200. So well, then you're saying that we have naturally on average 100 to 120 kids on a Sunday. So how do I accommodate that? And our church only holds 400 people max, and that's pretty packed. So we see it down the hallway, stuff like that. So the question is, how do we handle this? Unless you had a different configured, larger church, our narthex was open more. If there was another way to come to the schools that was interior, it would work, but
What if you were to have, I've seen this in other churches, the Sunday school children sit in the front pew.
we've discussed this. The problem is that conditioning with our parents, it would probably take them. I don't have the time, and I can't put the pressure. Here's the thing. I would then have to put pressure on the volunteers. 2, our church is very small physically. It's deceivingly small, and I'll tell you why. Where if you were to put, so if we have 10 classrooms, I would need 10 rows. That's half of the rows that we have. So if I take out 10 rows and the kids don't come to 11 o'clock, what would I do on this past Sunday? Have everyone stand in the back?
Wow.
Exactly. So in other words, these are issues that are all relative, but they don't, they just don't work. They don't make sense. And so we've thought about it in earnest, and then I feel bad because of what ends up happening if you put the kids up front. It's not the duty of the teachers to be babysitting for 2 hours. They're there to pray too.
Then the church has to start thinking of having a chapel just for children, like St. John's. Then you're going into money and construction.
Yeah, well, again, I will be somewhat honest, and it's something, I know the incredible aspect of St. John's, but I used to see, I heard it from Maryville, my father, I used to hear it at other churches where they would have multiple liturgies. You create two parishes. I know, I used to see,
Yes.
I used to see adults that would go into those chapels, and then that chapel's predominantly all English. And then I'm creating a product where you have one church that's a little more Greek, and you have one that's all English because it's to the kids. And
So
then,
how do we weigh this, Father? We're talking about something that is an enigma. We can't really come to a solution.
yeah,
We all have our thoughts about what we've experienced on Sundays, correct? Paramos de acuerdo com o dia, cada dia aqui, and so they. Kapos na tua lakshin, kati na kanon. And you really can't.
I think, I don't think the solution will be completely solved, but I would agree that I think what would help is if we had more, if we had a bigger narthex, it would allow for more spacing to like kind of spread people out. Our cry rooms, and then we also need bathrooms back there as well too, so we have no bathrooms in the church. You have to walk all,
Bathrooms in the, like
no.
the bride's room or the.
no, everything's down here, you have to come down this hallway to go to these bathrooms.
What is the other room on this side? I see.
Hi, they have it
We have
one
two
bathroom over here.
We have two cry rooms, no, the bathroom's over there.
Oh, so it's.
Oh, yeah, they have it over here, but
Two
people
private-
don't know, people don't know. Yeah. The
But
bottom.
they- So the other thing was, the other, over here, she's just giving hugs. It's funny. The thing is, our one side room behind the cry room is a storage. It used to be a bathroom.
Yeah.
Second,
Where?
the cry room to the north,
Yeah.
behind it, there's a storage room. There used to be a bathroom. Okay, it actually it's tiled. It looks like a bathroom. Part two, the hallway that we come down this way, that was the other bathroom. If you actually walk over there where the little proximidad is of St. Italia's,
Yes.
there's a divot in the middle because there's a hole that used to be the pipe for the toilet. So there used to be two bathrooms here. But,
Why would they close that?
well, they closed it because when they built this up, they thought that this would be conducive. I said, maybe 30 years ago, but I said, with all due respect, we didn't put elderly in consideration. I'm sorry, if someone's up front and they have to go, especially an elderly person, they will not make it down this ramp and go over here to get to the bathroom in time. I'm sorry.
It's very
So,
sorry.
so we really have something with this. We're getting into discussion to figure out how to do this. But the reality is, we are in a situation now that our problem is, it's not that we're outgrowing our space, it's just that we have to reconfigure some of the space, and okay, if that means you expand some of it, not all of it. You can do that so that we can make it appropriate. And we also have the issue now for this wing too, for the schools. We don't have enough classrooms. So our classrooms are maxed out. I mean, so much so that it's like one on top of the other. So then imagine like during COVID was very tough. So now it's even that much more difficult. And so, we try to do the best that we can with the situation with that one, but, yeah, that's the reality.
Look at the happiness.
So, yeah, I mean, it's the reality of what's going on, but these aren't bad things, but when you, but,
These are good things, the fact that we have so many people.
1 hour.
The fact
But-
that we have children filling the classroom.
yeah, I'm again, and you've heard me when I say it in sermons, again, my concern is not the children. I am frustrated, disappointed with the parents. It's in every capacity. It's from the church, it's from the coffee hour, it's from activities. I mean, like free for all. I mean, here's the best one. Let me give you an example. Even my youth ministries, and I create like a family that I hope enjoy. But if I didn't have 3 young adults that I asked to come on Mondays and Fridays to help me, just to kind of oversee and babysit, because we have like 50+ kids, the parents all just stand there. Like no one says like, Father, let me help you, or Father, let me put them in order. They all just stand.
I don't
They
understand.
don't, no one wants to be, so a point. This, I'm gonna tell you something, Bess, the priesthood of 30-40 years ago of Father Tees, Father Byron's, Father Leonikis and everything else. I don't have the aura or presence that they had. So that means I tell people stuff, doesn't matter. It's not, there's, to say that, when a priest would talk or a bishop, us as kids would have the fear of God. It's not that I can't instill that in them, but sadly what happens now because of the environment we've created, if I say something, it's not to what they like or want to hear, they'll be like, okay, to heck with you, I'll go somewhere else. Or to heck with you, I don't like it. And if you look at it, that's what happens in most of our churches. When you see people hop from different churches, why do you think they do that? Do you think it's because they don't like their church level somewhere, they were baptized, they were married or whatever? Most of the time, it's either they don't agree with the priest or they want to change of environment.
That's a problem of the large, I grew up, there was one church,
Yeah,
you went there, whether
Yeah.
you liked it.
Whether you liked it or not.
You went there, but getting back to.
Mhm.
I've observed since we've had so many memorial services, you get a lot of people who are not used to our church.
correct.
They do not listen to you. You could stand up there and every Sunday you tell the same thing.
Yep,
It's like their ears are plugged. We're gonna go, we're tired.
yep.
And this Sunday, I could honestly say the whole, on my right, whole section was filled with people for the memorial.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
You've got an influx of people that normally wouldn't come here. So you've got this problem compounded.
No,
So I call it the epidemic of memorial service. I've
no,
never seen so many. And I've been a lot, 87
And you're
years.
just telling us exactly what we said earlier about the children. It's the parents.
Well, it is the parents, but
It's the
also,
older people that just don't want to conform to a rule. Okay. we all
no,
go to
these are
different
younger
churches.
people.
All right, whatever age group.
My children would never act like that.
Exactly.
I don't
Exactly.
think,
Because you instilled in them the respect
And
wherever they are.
I have been in several churches, we've been transferred. Nobody, no child ever acted, and they were in Sunday school and they came out for coffee hour. None of the children ever acted like what I see. I don't go to coffee hour because it's dangerous. Because they could come running down the hall. I mean, you're
Knock you
walking
over.
them and they could knock. you
And,
over.
and it's very,
It's
it's very
dangerous.
disrespectful. I mean, I'm actually shocked, like, not like, you're right, dangerous first for your health, but secondly, like, there's no regard. I mean, they don't care who you are. You could be a yapapoo, like what she said, when she said, don't go by the elevator, like, you're not my mom. I mean, it's bad, and the talk back,
It was so bad. I left, she said, you don't talk to me like that. And you're not my mom. I was like, okay.
it's a disturbing, it's not a trend.
Here at the elevator, they'll play with that elevator.
Oh, yeah.
So they just play, they go up and they go.
Okay, let me ask you this. We have an officer.
Yep.
Say this. Can she somehow maybe stand at the door of the coffee room and maybe somebody may say, okay,
So
settle
That's not
down?
her job.
No, it's really not.
it's just the security and they're paid, I think they're paid from 9 to 11, I don't even know if 12. I think by the time 11 comes, they leave,
No, they're still
They're
here.
still there.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah, they're still there.
one woman was in the hall
okay,
that
then
day.
maybe it's for 3 hours.
But they have the policeman there.
Well, you see, but.
Well, then I even get people who are,
Have respect at least for what Father has stood there for 2 hours, preaching to us, trying to teach us something, and then we turn around and give us the animals.
welcome to my life. I say it on Sunday, I said, I don't understand how we could be Christians for an hour and then all of a sudden, immediately you take a step out like a hall breaks loose.
They didn't take it that way. People don't take it that way. They think that it's just their mindset. It's a different way to young people are brought up and do not
I have-
criticize anybody's child, trust me.
No,
But-
I'm not criticizing your child.
No, I mean, you're reprimanding them for their health and safety,
Right,
and the
Look-
parents have taken out after me.
right. Well, look
I
at.
don't say
Ivana
anything.
Masas, I'm sorry.
Alexander.
Alexander, kita di PCC. To korici your desana sa kain polo. You can't talk to me like that. I mean, that comes from the home. So, what ang piano may missing if you see, okay, in the 50s that I was going. I was actually taking a bus up with the speaking with Kimisi.
Wow.
I knew what had to be done. Yet you walk over man an milisi kanena suzuanyismo. Kepune after kefta ikinidina. There goes my head. Okay. Simera. Then I'm going to go forward up again. Then I'm going to forward.
Listen, I've seen it firsthand. They explicitly talked back.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what Field did? It was the first time I gave him Silo. He was watching like a YouTube video.
Was this your oldest now?
Middle one. The one that saved me is on something somewhere. But he said something to me, it was very rough. I got very upset. I asked him, he was watching a YouTube video. I try to then I really do not give him much electronics. We'll let them watch a little TV, we'll let them play, but I say very minimal. I don't, no iPad, no Nintendo Switch, whatever, because they literally become like zombies. So what ends up happening? He was watching it for a little bit, something was just coming up, and I asked him like, "Hey Theo, what are you doing?" And he says, "Nothing, idiot."
Oh, that's real respect, father.
I thought Presidente like was gonna grab me. I said, I grabbed him, go upstairs. I was livid. And the thing is, he heard it. He sees their attitude because he sees what other kids are doing on these silly, stupid videos. And that's the byproduct. So then I recognize it. We're very vigilant about it. But the problem is, a lot of parents, and I see this so often. I mean, you see when you go out now or in any activity, or I go to baptisms and weddings. I mean, immediately you're at some sort of reception, they shove it in their face without even trying to talk with the kids. Well, that's to be in front of them. They have to be occupied.
That is.
We have created children, we have created offspring so they can simply be occupied. Why do you think there's so many extracurriculars? I talk to all these parents like, do you really think your kid's gonna be a 5-star athlete? I said, you really think I said, with all due respect, and it's not me being racist, I'm like, most of us being white, like, you really think he's gonna go play in the NBA? I mean, you might have a decent kid that might do well in high school, who knows, God willing, a miracle. But you ever see the percentages when they say like 3% actually get a scholarship to college for athletics? I said, when you get that low, I said, I'd rather take my chances with studying and trying to get into a good school. They don't care though. They just shove all this stuff in. And I look at, because then, like I brought up the question, when I brought up about kids last week, when I can have a 6th grader come to me and tell me his entire schedule to not go to church for 3 months, where's the blame on? The kid or the parents who have allowed that schedule?
Parents,
I see.
parents didn't push it anymore, the kids like us.
Well, because the parents are
Yeah,
lazy
yeah,
to take care of
the
their
parents didn't not do
Yeah, but then I'm like, you guys did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but Alexandra, I just look on it, everyone best, you raised beautiful families, so it's like, so where's I say to my age, I'm like, where's your disconnect? I saw you at
The
church,
telephone, father,
everyone
the
tell me, I went to
telephone.
high school, I went to Goya, I went to Sunday school.
Τηλέφωνα. Του τα δίνουν έξω, τους αφήνουν να κάνουν ό,τι θέλουν.
But one of my grandson, he's
I got
like 19 years old, right? And they come to my house, 19, it's a grown man.
That's it.
Still he not allowed to go like this when in my house, solve that problem. I just said, you know, I found at the table. But he smiled because he did like this, matching like this and smiled. I did it to the father. And his mom says, do you visit with your or you really came here to,
I'm gonna get Frost, so she's at the door. Yeah, I got it.
You don't get it back. It's mine. I didn't try to be, I have a good grading, but I said, well, they learned that my son did the same thing. It's mine. And the kids learn from that. They give them a call something down there.
Yeah, the copier's down here.
You know, she don't get it,
Thank you.
but it's like 11. They're newborn and they look at the phone.
Hello.
Yeah, so that's the real, it's a very poor reality, and you know, I question because like, it's like you predicted, I even messaged the guild on Sunday, said, be careful, we're gonna have a lot of people. I said, be attentive, be extra welcoming, in other words, because you're gonna have a lot of new faces, you said the whole group. But then I say that to the people, so they don't know this church, I personally cannot find the excuse of going to a different church, you don't know how to act. You're at some church, you had to figure out, I mean, when I grew up, so I grew up predominantly St. Spirit on Palos Heights, and I'd go to other churches too with my parents, but I still was respectful. I remember going to like a Romanian Orthodox church, or Stonaia Nicola, Albanian Orthodox church. Okay, they spoke different, but I still recognized where I was as a Bedi. I know what to do my cross. I knew to be attentive. I knew to be respectful. You know, it's a reality, and it's just a disturbing trend when we see these situations, and both kids and parents and participants. Okay, sorry, just fine. There's no regard. There's no regard. There's no savasmo. There's no hope. Nothing. They just kind of go with the flow, and that's it.
Don't worry, Father, we can.
That's fine. He's fine. So what else? What else on your end? What else do you see? With their lives. Since we got obviously a few more minutes to talk as well too. What else do you see? What else has been any trends or anything?
Our church is the best.
But I was.
I was just here for 40 minutes complaining. I see you coming and telling us for the best. I really,
I was sending me through yesterday.
so Hammond,
Dimitria. No, still Elmer.
oh, okay, nice.
Kristen Mendon come to the
Coffee. I wanted to talk to him. It's cafe.
Hey, well, you know what I gotta tell you though? So I'm so blessed with our community because at least we can be open, we can be sincere, and you also recognize when I'm joking. Because I get a, like, listen, I said a couple weeks ago, I made, I joked around with the Filósofos, right? I said, doesn't want my ticket to the fashion show, I'll be the only guy there, Father, I don't wanna be there, blah, 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 stuff like that. Now, I said it so much as a joke, but when I look at the big thing, I mean, our fashion show and our Filósofos, everything they do is incredible. So yeah, I'm being sarcastic, but I know the situations of a priest try to do that, but if you don't know the community or you don't express them as a joke and to laugh and to have fun and, live and everything else.
Sound for you. It's fine.
And so I feel, but you see, I also recognize the community. I recognize that people enjoy it. So because I mean, we have to, I mean, my attitude, I always have a smile. I mean,
Don't get mad to walk out.
yeah, there's no need to, so.
Simone espetar.
Yeah, mai negrinjaus agora, né? Mas desgaiadas.
Uh-oh,
They're cancer.
uh-oh.
So, but it's fun. It's funny that you said that. I see that at other churches too. I feel bad because there's always such a tropo, but that was important. As I said before, like I look at Father T of blessed memory. You think about to the people that he had to talk to when you're trying to construct a build. There was a tropo. There was a sebasmo that we had to have. I still have that too. And I will tell people, I'm like, please be quiet or whatever, but there's instances where I encourage obviously singing or whatever, and in the manner, but it's always done. I try to be correct and respectful to the situation that we're in. But I guess what upsets me is, I will admit, that's where I'm like kind of my constituents and my friends, is that I will sometimes just not bat an eye, where I'll have other people say like, "Father, maybe we should tell them to be quiet." I'm like, not in church. I'm trying to give an example. Not coffee hour. I don't know. What's an example? Might be a meal. Or, Greek school. So Greek school, the kids don't immediately, they're not like how we were. They weren't like at Socrates, they weren't like at Plato. Like when the priest came in, Mesos, you were up at this. And they just kind of look at me. But you see, they weren't inherently taught. So being that they weren't inherently taught, thank you. Being that they weren't inherently taught, they don't know that. So there are two that teachers say, psicotito, whatever, really rise. But I'm also not someone who forces it. And then you're gonna say, well, Father, we're also doing the service.
Your service is good.
No, this service.
The service.
No, yeah, the service, yeah.
I enjoy everything you.
When mi lao your service, lao ti ya tapedia,
Yeah, definitely.
then it answers stuff because dentro sa pagkiriso, di ba, many meso yeles, na sikopita na orti na tropo kin sa pagpo. The film I say to me, Martinez to me, I have as much energy as I can, I can't solve every world's problem. That's my other frustration too. Where I ask them, like, where are the parents? I mean, then I know why. I see parents. Have you ever seen, but here's the problem, they do it to me. But I think they do it to any priest. They're very nonchalant. Nonchalant means even if they saw an older priest, they don't go up and try to kiss his hand immediately. So first of all, they have an awkwardness. They'll kind of like stand back.
Because younger, you're.
No, Memena, I always embrace. Now, some come up to me, which is nice. But then I'll put my hand out, so they'll go. Yes, I do pull it away to give them a hug or whatever. But at least you made the attempt to go to kiss the hand. I take the attempt as a sign of respect because you know that. And then you teach your children the same thing. Now, if the priest, embraces you or whatever, or the bishop, it's a blessing. And it's out of the respect too. Whenever you receive andidoro, you kiss my hand, okay, fine. But my struggle is, I see many people who don't even make the attempt, or they don't even know how to exchange greetings. That's a worse problem. That means they don't even know how to agree with each other, because you'll have the kids and I'll put my hand out, not just kiss my hand, let me pick it up at the end. High five or whatever, and they don't know how to do that. They just kind of look at you, or the parents, and then I'm like, can give me a high five, you can shake my hand, I'm saying good morning, I'm saying good afternoon, how are you? But they don't know, so the parents are not even teaching the children even the natural basic skills of life, how to greet and welcome to each other.
Manners.
If it's manners, that's what you're gonna say.
It's manners. I think during the pandemic, we stopped to say
Yes.
hands and I think that is, you don't know anymore.
I
how
hesitate
that-
because when I
Yeah.
see somebody else going
I
like
don't
this, I'm
teach.
like,
But what did I just say? So I disagree. Not disagree. I agree with you. But if someone makes the attempt,
I bow.
okay, that's fine.
That's what I do. I
Okay.
bow now, but I don't. kiss them.
That's fine.
I mean, I
But
think a lot of them.
Even me going to.
I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. It goes through the process, you make the attempt. I truly believe with the parents and the kids, they don't even recognize you make an attempt. That's my problem. And I don't know if it's so much about the pandemic. I really think, I mean, I can't tell you
The
guys.
parents.
It's a very big struggle. No, I'm just looking. It's a very big struggle because, that goes back to our original conversation. Okay, so how do you fix this? How do you check? And I teach, I see it often. I mean, I can't have Orthodoxy 101 every single moment of the day. And I'm saying that it's because it's all repetitive. But every time I say something, obviously we always learn something new. So it's just a true struggle that all of us deal with, but I think it's exponentially worse now than it ever has been because your faith and your religion was so important and it was a part of your day-to-day life growing up. What that means is the church had an impact every day. Whether you came for church, you came for Sunday school, you came for Greek school, you came for ministries, you came for meetings, you came for activities. Now, my generation, it's not a necessity. Because I go, and we brought it up, we have the attitude of Pascha and Christmas, and it's a checklist. Okay, I did my good deed for a year.
If it's not necessary, why, when we're in trouble, do we run to the priest or the church? It should be a necessity in our life. I'm gonna say something to you. It was mentioned that, after the luncheon at the baptism, you took your time to go to every table, whether you knew these people or not, and you said goodbye. And, Blue Diaz or whatever you said, I don't remember. And I was touched that you came and said goodbye to me, very truthful with you. Okay, how many people do that? I would love to come up to you, all of you, and just be you don't have to be my best friend, but just be respectful enough to say, good morning, how are you? People are afraid to do that because of the COVID. I don't know. I think they give that as an excuse.
No.
about Everything.
Excellent point.
Don't get, but.
But no, she makes an excellent point. I think it's, again, I mentioned before too, it was the lifestyle. So myself being raised and how I was and everything else, again, I'm not gonna lie. Growing up, my parents, they taught me like you respect everyone. If you have an elder, you greet them, actually, my parents taught me the attitude. It was someone older, whether I knew them or not, but like it was a church, I don't know the name, they should call them like Theo or Thea.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they're like, you have these many Theos and Theas. I said, no, but I treat them as in that manner. It's very respectful, right? So that's how I would act. That's how I would act. And then I'm gonna be honest, I am an anomaly. Why am I an anomaly? There's nothing special about me. I'm just a person, just like everyone else. But how I was raised and how my work ethic. At high school senior year, I started working at a Bennigan's in Oak Brook, and I lived in Palos Hills as a busser and host. I couldn't be a server until I was 18 then. And then I went to UIC, and even at UIC, I worked 40 hours a week. So I always had a work ethic, and every work that I did involved interaction with people. So that meant I had to greet, I had to welcome. It actually had to be nice. You had to be extra attentive, but mind you, all that stuff was for a benefit because of wanted tips or to just do better or to progress. But then that taught me a lot of things because I also got to meet
Don't move your chair.
I see hundreds of people, And I got to recognize, I mean, I met people who I'll never forget it, it was in Boston, when I was at the seminary, I worked at this place called Legal Seafoods. Legal Seafoods is a very popular seafood, middle to upscale dining, and, you know, oh my gosh.
It's
So
too big.
today, yeah, they were like pajamas, so I both feel, I'm gonna be presbytera, which see the video should yell at me. Anyways, and working at Legal Seafoods, I had this couple. No, it wasn't Legal Seafoods. I worked at a place before. It was called Paparazzi, an Italian place. Small, it was in a mall. I just got the job. I didn't know where to go in Boston. It was by the school. It was a couple. They used to bring a teddy bear. Okay, they would go to dinner and bring a teddy bear with their meal, and they would come like once a week. And for some odd reason, I always got them. They were always very clean, cold. You ask them anything, very aplat. You never brought specials because they didn't care. They knew what they wanted, how they wanted it. Very straightforward. A la mitad, what did I, and to me, I was always trying to be genuine. Me, naturally, like a server, you try to upscale, you know, like, would you like a bottle of wine? No. Would you like, you knew. So, but then when I find out, one time, I take the opportunity to talk.
That's the. He's lost in the world.
I see you. What was I gonna say? And then I find out after about like a month and a half, I asked one of the servers, one of those there for a while. I said, have you ever seen this? I was like, oh yeah, we see him all the time. I said, why is there a teddy bear? Their daughter died at a young age. And so they would always bring it with them so that they could just have the presents with and stuff. And so I didn't know. And then you could see my attitude. Well, I know, but then my attitude, just like with all of us, you see someone who might be cold, but you don't know their personal, you don't know the stuff. So the problem is that we judge and then we assume. I will admit that I'm very bad at this. When I went to Legal Seafoods, and this is where I was at Chestnut Hill, Brighton, Brookline, Massachusetts. It was well off being where the seminary was at, but there was also a lot of Hebrei, old money, old Jewish people money. So they were old school, and I would have them. And yeah, I will admit, as a server, it was really bad. Why? They would come in for the early bird dinner, which was no early bird, but they would come at 4:30, 5 o'clock. They take a table, you only have 4 tables. And as a server, your goal is to raise the menu so you can make more money, obviously more sales. So for a better tip, and to turn, so you can get more tables. And me, I was always very efficient. I just handle and stuff like that. And they would sit there 4 or 5 hours, have a scrod. Scrod is cod. So whenever you're a scrod on the East Coast, in the doy, you're a cod. Baked with butternut squash and another steamed veggie. Split. So the scrod, lunch portion. So smaller. And what are they drinking? Water with lemon. So my bill was like $20 for dinner. And then my friend went at the table next to me, lobster, oysters, bottle of wine, $300. Like, oh man, I already made my night. I said, yep, there you go. And me, I'm sitting here. And then I was bad. The one time it was very rude of me. But again, I was whatever. I was in seminary college, and it was a long night. And it was so funny. They go up to me. I go up to them, and you go up to a person after they've eaten, would you like any coffee or dessert? I go and I give them the bill. And they're like, you're not gonna ask us one coffee or dessert? I'm like, I said, no, I was bad. I said, I know you're not gonna get it. So here's the bill. And they just looked at me.
I heard enough of that. My son is a server.
A server too?
And I heard all this story.
There's so many stories, but I'll tell you what
But
though.
he smiled all
I
the
know,
time.
and so do I. You have to. I've dealt with everything. I've dealt from
You see,
superstars. I've dealt with athletes, business.
How would you react? I'm sure it happened to
Yeah.
someone that you really don't care about, or maybe even your enemy, as we say. You're supposed to turn the other cheek and be kind. Although I had priests tell me, you turn this cheek, you turn the other, don't turn it their time. Do something with it. It's very difficult to smile and be gracious and respectful when you know that person is giving you
Yeah.
like the evil eye or whatever. It's very hard, Father. For me, I have dealt with it for a while. And actually I became ill because of this one person.
Well,
But now I see this person, it's very hard for me, to smile.
Mm.
But they say, as we've all heard, smile kills whatever, Otan sana kamoy, whose vibes is sana, and you help yourself too. I know, but it's so difficult.
Because I have not smiled like that.
Yeah. And though. Yeah, si pukani smile, i lepisto kamoy, seriso ti danino kamoy.
I know.
It's very difficult. In that respect, we're talking about respect and being kind and everything. We just have to learn to. We can't get over it. I don't like that. term,
Did you
get over it.
forgive the person?
No, you don't have to get over, it. You have to move on.
Yes. you have to-
It's a growth.
You have to forgive the person.
Yeah, but
It's
the
very
forgiveness is, the forgiveness, yeah, but that doesn't work.
No,
Yeah, I
but I
forget.
can forgive, but I can forget what you.
I,
did.
Laco, I have an incredible
Because
memory.
you're such a good person, okay? Not you.
I know, but I have a great memory. My memory is very photographic, so I know names to faces to attitudes and stuff like that. So when something happens to me, it stays with me very vividly. I mean, I still think of stuff from
That's,
high school, junior high and stuff like that. And you're gonna say, I know it, but I don't allow it to resonate. I don't allow it to semanato melato. Because when you think about it and stuff like that,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes you not relati. So it makes you to go crazy.
Yeah.
And so to your point, I just struggle with us to moving on because we have to grow. That's why I said this past Sunday about the attitude about change. We don't understand what personal growth is. As Christians, you are called every day, every moment to enhance. We are beings of growth. You actually physically grow, we know, from infant to adulthood. And even adulthood, you grow in different manners. You either grow more hair or less hair. You think you're smarter or less smart, whatever the case may be. We all grow. And as an adult, we always find out, I've learned something new. That's growth. So we have to really put it into the context that we need to grow spiritually as well too. And we can do that, especially with each other, from witnessing and participating in that attitude of change. But change also comes from the word metania, metano,
Mhm.
and then also comes with the attitude of repentance, sikorisi, and then also to progress. When someone comes to confession, that's why I said it on Sunday. When someone comes to confession, we go to confession. I say what is said. I ask for repentance and forgiveness from God. The priest is there to help me and guide me. And then from there, I move on. Your slate is clean. The slate is not still there and says, oh, think about what you just did. No. You grow and you progress from there. And that's what we're called to do as Christians. But sadly, we don't. And that's why you get the people who always put out the attitudes, I forgive, but I don't forget.
Want to finish that because when I said I don't forget, I don't go for to go against the
Like
person,
revenge, yeah.
revenge. But anytime you did something to me and then you bad and you talk to me and you smile to me, I smile back, but it's in. I just. Hmm?
You're more careful.
Yeah, I'm not in.
Yeah.
Say, so di ba tocano ni Metis?
So
Tocano ni.
that's what I don't mean. I don't.
And get that with the family to trust. Think about why a couple. You ever think why couples get divorced and why they struggle so much? Because they don't have trust with each other. And when the trust is broken the very first time, now to mazepsi special, I always tell them to people, whenever time something's broke, trust, love, faith, you put it back together, it has cracks. And those cracks, you put sealant on it, but they still show. In other words, they're still there. So you can't just assume, someone does something bad, so you're like, okay, it's all good, we'll make it work together. It still exists. The attitude has to be in both avenues. Okay, these are the two cheeks of the third. You have to grow, they have to grow. If the situation does not grow together and it grows apart, that's okay.
So what are you telling me then? How should I deal with it?
But I would encourage out of the attitudes of what you see and figuring out what's best for you. Because the point is you're trying to,
In other words, don't let that person overrule, don't let it.
don't let it disturb you.
disturb you.
Because the problem is it's disturbing your soul that then affects your salvation.
It's,
That's the problem. The problem here, and that's the only time I tell people to act selfish, but it could be a selfishness just to kind of solve the situation. Because I'm always confrontational. When I say confrontational, if someone brings up something to me, I will talk about it. I have nothing to fear. But then there's times where, what am I going to talk with someone when it's the same thing with politics. That's why we shouldn't even talk about politics. Because if they already have a different mindset than me, it's pretty useless. Bipartisan, all these attitudes don't exist because you're either on one side or the other. I now constitute you in either some type of evil or insanity. And then there, I can't talk with you, and then I can't even relate with you. So then what am I gonna do? Am I gonna stay with you and try to work it out? If the person doesn't put in their effort, I can't do it then. Then you're wasting effort. And then, like I said on Sunday, and I even talked about with people yesterday, I'm also wasting something precious. You know what it is? Time. I don't have time for this. I have my life, I have my
You're
family.
allowing them
But the
to-
hard part is, how do you forgive, and also you continue to pray for them? You ask God to enlighten them, you ask God to strengthen them, and hopefully from there they'll awaken and learn from their mistakes. And it's not easy. That's the hardest part. It's all a struggle. I struggle, you struggle, the whole world struggles. But unless someone recognizes their suffering and their pain, so that they can awaken, who knows, someday they'll come up to you and say, I'm really sorry. And that's happened to me. I've had someone randomly, they'll tell me like 5, 7 years later. And it could be because I'm a priest or whatever. They'll say like, Father, something happened. I said, I didn't even know, but okay, thank you for telling me. God bless you. I still love you and stuff like that. It is what it is. I don't hold grudges. All of my feelings, if they're ever anything bad, it's only an attitude, realistic frustration, and disappointment.
Big part.
Disappointment's a hard one because it's not that I hate anyone, but like when someone doesn't do something, or especially as a priest, because everyone I deal with predominantly is always on a volunteer basis. There's very few employees in the church. So when someone said they commit to helping and they don't do it, I'm disappointed. What am I gonna do? Be angry at you? Because then my problem is if I lose you in general, or I lose your family, what gain is that to me? So I'm at a very awkward place where then I have to, it goes back to my personhood. What's my personhood? I am an imitator of Christ. I have to be. And I look at Christ. All that relates to me now, my priesthood now, as a priest of going 10 years, is of the miracle of the 10 lepers. That's really how I feel as a priest right now. Why? Because I feel like Christ when he's at the end of it, and only one comes back to give glory to God. And he said, all he asked him, he didn't say, oh, good job, you're the best out of the 10. He says, where's the other 9? That's how I feel now. I have 550 families, where's the other 90%? You know what I mean? When we want to serve, when we want to help, and guys.
But don't you feel good that you at least got that 1%?
That's I don't know. You know what? I'll tell you why. It's bad on me, because I have my problem. And my problem is my pride and ego, that I feel that I can accomplish anything, right? We all do. We want to see, I want more. I'm never satisfied. But then I have to be humbled. And then I have to turn back, because then I go back to Christ and I look at the scriptures. And when he even says that even when one sinner repents, all of heaven rejoices. So if I save one soul out of my entire priesthood, I did something positive. So, but if I've hurt a soul, or I've deterred a soul from building a relationship with God, that's on me. I had that happen to me recently. So what ended up happening? I had a couple. It was my fault. It was employee stuff, and they wanted to. It was just they wanted to. Obviously, it was like about a baptism for a child, but because of when we originally scheduled, it wasn't able to be done because of like a service of the year. And because of that, they decided to go to a different church, but a different denomination. So then I'm like, I said, I just gave them an out, and now that's on me. I even talked to the parents, I talked to the grandparents and everything else. And they were all very sympathetic with me, but I still can't get over it, because if I had just been mindful, or if I just dot my I's and cross my T's 1,000%, and chose a different date originally for them, I would never have had that issue. But that's on me now. But you understand, and I told them, like, can we work something out? Can we try to do something another day? Anything, I'll work whatever we need to do. It was after the fact. And so that's where the failure comes into my part. And that'll be on my heart. Now you can say, yeah, but they still became Christian. Yeah, but did I do everything that I could to make sure that they could stay with of course, with our faith, but with a relationship with God, because from there they just kind of do a formality, and then they just kind of float on now. You know what I mean? They don't actively go to that church. They just did it because it was an accommodation. Then you can say, well, let's on down. Yeah, but I always see that's the point. I don't care what they do. Look at what I'm doing. How am I helping them, or how am I allowing myself to grow? And I don't allow that to hold me back. So that's where the reality comes into the play. So, it's all food for thought in these manners, but it's life, and we have to be mindful of it. And for yourself, you have to be able to grow. That growth is so hard, because even as an adult, as as an elder, such as yourself, with wisdom, and seeing so many stuff. You can honestly say, that's why I say from the adults, older ones, like, well, I don't care. I look at my dad, he's very grizzly now. He's 72, 73, unfiltered. Now, he doesn't swear, he just says anything that's on his mind. It could be something asinine, it could be whatever, but he just says it all. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And he's like, and you're gonna be like, why should he? He's 73, live life, let him see what he wants to say, but you're still human. You still interact with people. Now, but it's a spectrum though. All these things are always an absolute. So you can say in one manner could be asinine, but then my father's also loving in all these other aspects. But then you got the other side of the point where then we can't even say anything to anyone. Goes back to what you said. I can't talk to a child who's doing something wrong. Who are you to tell me? So it's like I got from the one to the other. I got one that's completely unfiltered, and I got one that's doesn't listen to anything. So where it goes back, and I think this is the reality. This is where I think we have gone up the chains. Is that our parents, our grandparents, everyone before us, they had goals, they had mindsets, they had drives, and they had things to focus on in life. It was always balanced. I never saw any of my parents or even my relatives just always gallivantly going out. They worked, they maybe went out on a sporadic occasion. We had the celebrations of baptisms, weddings, and stuff like that, but they were going out every Friday and Saturday. You're an adult. And then they would tell us as we got older, we sacrificed a lot for you as your children. We worked, we fed you, we taught you, we loved you, we gave up opportunities to go and do what we want. But look at the families now. I can't even tell you how many times I see adults or whatever, they're going out. And it's not that it's bad. I do it for as too, but that our focus was the kids. Then why'd you have kids? Why'd you have families? And I think then it goes back to the attitude of where's my responsibility? We don't want responsibility. Why do you think now? Well, you see now, especially now post Roe versus Wade. I mean, now it's explicit. You see it in every commercial. It's either pro-choice or pro-life. Immediate. And they're trying to paint it so that every side is, the devil. This is the devil, that's the devil. You know what I mean? It's very black and white. And I'm like, so with Roe versus Wade, it wasn't as highlighted, yet it was a very big talking point, especially in the last 10 to 20 years. And I know towards the peak of Roe versus Wade, but now because obviously that it's not a constitutional manner, and they're going to talk about different manners that the states can decide, it's up to them. But you look at it now, I mean, you see the sharpness in everyone's thumbs, that this one's wrong. In other words, we're making each elected person, whatever side you choose, as a righteous person. If I'm pro-choice, I'm righteously thinking about you. If I'm pro-life, I'm righteously thinking about you. Is that true? I think the short answer is neither are. But they're trying to paint that picture so they can get elected. Yeah, it shows to the naiveness of us as humanity. I mean, are we actually looking at each person through across the board? I mean, I shouldn't just be having red ballots, blue ballots, because, oh no, I'm going to stay this way and we got to get them through. I mean, I have to do diligence. That's why, because then at the avenue is, we've created this type of civil war. There's no bipartisan. There's no them coming to an attitude. And if it's bipartisan, it has to be on something that everyone agrees. Russia's invading Ukraine. No one likes it, so we'll support Ukraine. Easy peasy, right? But look at all these other avenues. We're talking about racial injustice. You're talking about famine, stuff like that. They can't come to compromises. And if they do, it has to be on each one's accord. Well, my state needs this. I want that. I want this, right? It's all about pride. It's all about ego. Because why? They're defending that local area. But we never look big picture. That's a bigger issue.
So when a person is mean or
Yeah.
your enemy, you should look beyond that and make yourself comfortable with your feelings towards that person, because inevitably that person's not going to change. This is an inside and they're.
You can hope, but that's on them.
Yeah.
That's other,
But the basic thing that you said is very difficult. It's difficult to deal with.
So then what are you gonna do? You're gonna just, sulk in it and just deal with it?
No, you just go on whichever way you can, by reading, by talking to a priest, a counselor, whatever. But that person will never change.
So,
But what I'm saying to you, my starting point was, when you see that person, you smile to them, and inside you may be burning.
yeah. I can't tell, it's very tough.
Get about things. That's it.
I did not
Consider the source, and
Yeah.
it's not that
And it's
important.
not-
Yeah.
Think about
Absolutely correct. Absolutely.
That's a good point too. I mean, I think about me as a priest. I know there's people who have bashed me or complain about me, and I still have to love them.
That's it.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Now, okay, it's harder for me because technically that's my job to do. I need to emulate that. I need to emulate God and love, right? But I'm human too. It stinks.
Of course, you wear many hats.
And so I sympathize for my brother priests, because you've said it before too. We might not agree with them. Froso brought up on Dimitria that the priest was rough or whatever because the people didn't come. So it's like all that stuff comes into play. But I'm sympathetic to them because they have many hats, and who knows why. Goes back to what I said. Goes back to my couple who I was serving that I didn't know why they were cold or they were ugly. But then I find out they lost a child. Wow. How sympathetic should I be? And they don't want sympathy. They just want to be.
They're not, they're
You
not
know what I mean?
bothering you.
They're not bothering. That's just how they are. And that's our problem. We internalize or recognize, we expect them to be like us. Or I like, to be open. And the other one's more reserved. I mean,
As I've been getting older, I realize that you cannot judge a person because they didn't say hello to you or something. Who knows? I don't know how you got up that morning. I don't know what.
Thank you,